away we go. Hello, and welcome to another marvelous show on the College Football Mafia Network called Bombers Hit List. Yeah, we got a bunch of shows. Everybody's got a brand. Moen has his. Mute has his. We still are working on one for Rock and Rant. We have Big Ten Mafia, which is Becky and Pickles. So constantly changing and growing. I appreciate everybody being here with me tonight. It's Wednesday night, sort of a catch-all night. I was working on a couple interviews. I can announce one interview tonight. Next Wednesday, right here, same time, Bob Thompson will be in the studio. And we will be talking everything, all of the news that's come out about media, college sports, certainly football valuations, and how the conferences looked at themselves. Bob Thompson, he can answer some. There's some stuff that's embargoed we won't be able to review, but in the long and short of it is, Bob will be here and answering questions. Right now, I'm all alone. I put it out to the world if anybody wanted to join me. I'm just going to do an open invite right now. If somebody wants to come on and just sort of co-captain with me, and I think it's way more interesting when you guys are listening to somebody else than me. I posted the link there. Take it if you want. If you don't, whatever. So tonight we're going to be doing Q&A. We're going to be answering questions. There's so much that's been going on Twitter. It kind of got screwed up last night because of the stupid debate, which if you know anything about debates, that was not a debate. And so we're going to talk about some fun stuff, and that would be college football. And I would even filter it more, say big time college football, because tonight we're going to talk about what it costs to compete at the top level. Let's see here. You can see my brand names, everything I go by, and all the shows that we do underneath my picture right there. Make sure you're following me. Subscribe on YouTube. That's a really big deal. If you're currently watching on Twitter and you don't know what we're doing or where we're at, go to Google or YouTube, type in College Football Mafia Network or Big 12 Mafia, and my shows will pop up. The team will be there, and you can see all of them. And there's a lot. We do a lot of content. Don't have a show quite a day yet. We're going to be there eventually. But, man, we've come a long way in just over a year. Well, about a year and a half now. And I appreciate everybody that's with us tonight. So if you're watching on Twitter, go over, subscribe on YouTube. It's really important for us. And, become a more active member. The last thing is turn on your notifications. Notifications are huge. You have to have them on Twitter. And a lot of people don't know Twitter has notifications. It's in your settings. And then obviously on YouTube, hit that little bell right next to the button that you hit that says subscribe, right next to the button that says you like the show. Do them all right now. They're free. They don't cost you anything. And this is one thing that will really help me. So that's about where we're at with that. Let's see. We've got a bunch of new people watching. I'm going to wait a little bit before I do shout outs. We're going to have a bunch of new people. If you're on Twitter right now, I'm not exactly sure if your messages will come through on my stream. So if you want to reach me, go on to YouTube, and then you don't have to watch the video. Just open up the comment section there in YouTube. There's 3 dots at the top. You hit it, toggle out the YouTube comments, and then you can watch on Twitter. And then I know I'm getting those comments. I just cannot be sure. Twitter is sometimes broken, so I don't know if it's going to work tonight or not. This is going to be feedback, so I just posted a link to join the show if you want to do that. Otherwise, it's going to be Q&A. You guys have statements or questions, you ask them. I'll try to answer them. I don't make crap up, so I will go to the resources as much as I have. Obviously, it's not going to have everything, but some of the highlights of the last few days, I'll try to cover those as well. And last, I guess certainly not least, is make sure you subscribe on YouTube. Make sure you consider becoming a member. Down at the bottom on the comment section, hit that little $sign. You can do a super chat. You can do a super sticker. Certainly, you can become a member. Follow those instructions and become a member of the College Football Mafia Network. Tonight, I'm going to be deferring to all super chats. Any super chat we have, they will immediately go ahead of the line. Other than that, I take members' comments. They have priority. It's the same everywhere. I'm not any different than like John Kurtz or Greg, peek around the corner. And then general comments. I'll get to those. Generally, if you use my name, you address me in a comment, I generally pick those over other comments, just so everybody knows. All right, we're about 6 minutes in. I think that's about the setup tonight. Wednesday night, lots of news. So let's do some shout outs, and then I'll jump into a few of the topics, and then we'll start doing the live feedback. All right. Really quick, let me post the link to join the show again. If you want to join, again, if you're on Twitter, just come over and get it on StreamYard. You can join the show, and we'll talk about whatever you want as long as it's appropriate. And that's the only rule I have. All right, let's do shout outs. This is going to be awesome. So to start off with, we have Earl Carr. Earl Carr's a member all the way back into the OG days early last year. He says, first like. I appreciate that, Earl. Jan Holk, who has been a member in the past, and certainly we appreciate him either way, all the way from Slovenia. We are an international show. He represents our European anchor. We appreciate you being here, Jan. Earl Carr says, hi, Jan. Let's see. Jan Hogue says, what was the news? Didn't check anything today. We'll get to that, Jan. Okay. I've got a bunch of stuff bookmarked. We'll get to it. And hopefully I cover what everybody's asking about. All right. Scroll down here. The next comment we're getting that's new is Joaquin Morales. He should be a moderator, to be honest. I'm going to have to talk to Mo on how we do that. But Joaquin, an OG, always supportive. Thank you so much for everything you do, Joaquin. It's hey, Bomber. Hey, hope your recovery is going well. I'll touch on that in a second. We'll listen later. Got to keep an eye on Mama. Families first, brother. Who wins ASU versus Texas State? That's a great question. I'll answer that right now. Right now, ASU just has to beat the spread. I don't know what the spread currently is this second, but if they can beat the spread, it'll be looked at like it's a good win. Texas State is good, and if the spread is too big, all the money is going to go to them because their quarterback is fantastic. He's athletic. And yeah, I don't know who's going to win those games, but it's certainly an interesting thing to follow. Texas State is going to be a program that, like UTSA, that maybe a rebuilt Pac-12 wants to pick up, right? These are schools that are growing, investing in big-time college football. We'll talk about that in a little bit and how much that matters. Okay. Finish that out. Oh, I smashed that like button too. Thank you very much, Joaquin. Everybody else, smash the like button while you're watching. Adrian Rodriguez, good to see you again, Adrian. Says hello. Let's see here. Oh, Joaquin says, hey, College Football Mafia family. I really appreciate that. Daniel Gygax checking in on representing West Virginia. Good to have you here, Daniel. Earl Carr says, sup, Bomber. I appreciate that, Earl. Jason Spangler, good to see you last night. It's great to have you back tonight. News. Yeah, we'll try to get to it. Okay. Lee says, hey, Bomber. Thank you very much, Lee. I appreciate it. Great to see you. Let's see here. Scrolling down. Dallas Marquez. Good to see you, Dallas. Hello. Let's go K-State. Man, K-State, this is an opportunity for them to show out. I think I picked K-State. I can't remember. All right. I hit something bad. I don't know what that was. I'll have to look up my picks. I honestly don't know if I picked K-State or not. I don't want to speak out of turn. We certainly want the Big 12 to do well. I'll just go to my picks. Everybody, we can find it out right this second. Weekly picks, ASU. Okay, I took Arizona State. So there you go. Arizona State, Tulane, Alabama, Missouri, Washington State, Oregon State. These are all against the spread, by the way. Washington State and Oregon State to cover. Purdue to hold over. I believe that's Notre Dame, and then West Virginia. So those are all picks against the spread. If you guys want to participate in that, in fact, let me just take the post, and you guys can go right now. Here's the link to join our Discord. Go, it's free. Just create an account, go in, and you can participate in our weekly picks. It's a lot of fun. We appreciate when everybody does those. Certainly, it's fun for us at least. All right, let's keep going. So Dark Moon, good to see you, Dark Moon. Good evening. Thank you for being a member, Dark. I appreciate you. I appreciate you very much. A lot of West Virginia guys in here. West Virginia is a fantastic school. Steve Ohio, Florida, representing Ohio, Florida. We've been talking on Twitter. How you doing, Steve? Good decision to come on tonight. Okay. I don't know. I hope I cover what you want me to cover, Steve. I'm afraid that if there's a high bar, I might not meet it. Skaven, yes, says, hello, Bomber. GBR. What is that? Somebody tell me what GBR is. You always talk in acronyms, Skaven, and I'm not very good with acronyms. So, does anybody else know? I'm looking at the comments right now. What's that mean? Anybody know what GBR means? All right, Skaven, put it in the comments. We'll talk about it later. Illini Ted, good to see you, man. Representing Illinois, and I believe they had a great game last week. I'm not sure who they played this week, but Moen has picked them to do pretty well. They certainly played well. Says, hey, Bomber, thank you very much. A-Max says, hey, howdy, y'all. Daniel Hendrickson, good to see you, Daniel. Hi, Bomber, College Football Mafia Network, getting better each week. Thank you. I tip my hat to you. I give you claps. I'm not good with all those special things, but Daniel, I really appreciate you being here, your loyalty. And if you're new to the channel and you're watching or you're watching on Twitter, do me a favor, go over on YouTube, subscribe, leave a comment, give us a thumbs up, and consider becoming a member. Thank you, Daniel. Appreciate it. Antoine Codes checking in, another Arizona State guy. And then we have one of my favorites, Amelia Ilanol. I want to get that right. She was busy tonight, so she couldn't join me like she did last week, which is probably why you guys are here, is you were hoping Amelia was going to be here, and probably not for me. Walking client pooches, oh, that's dogs. But I'm here to listen in and show some love and support. Thank you, Amelia. Can't wait to have you back on the show. Let's see. Go Big Red. I apologize. Moen said that last night. Go Big Red. So Skaven, yes, says go Big Red. Kenneth Evans, go Big Red. There, see? Oh, you guys are smarter than I am. Scroll down to the last comments we have saved. Illini have Central Michigan. Central Michigan did some work last week now. Can't take them for granted. Hey, buddy, Earl Carr. There we go. And then I'm going to finish with Steve Ohio, Florida's last comment. I'll keep the bar low, as in Satterfield second half coaching decisions in second half versus Pitt. He's talking about Louisville, people. Louisville blew a 21-point lead. And really, those type of losses do not help the Big 12. I know it sounds silly to say a different school losing hurts you, but it really is. Rising tide raises all boats in the Big 12. No doubt about it. They're all pulling for each other. Even if they don't want them to win, they want the conference to win. That's why these out of conference games, first 3 weeks of the season matter so much. All right, so we made it through all our regular comments. Let's see, Dallas Marquez, let's get this. He says, hello, let's go K-State. I love that. And then Daniel, if you are not following Bob on Twitter, you're missing out on a lot of information. That would be Bob Thompson. Let me give you his. It's RLT. I want to make sure I get it right, because if you like college football, it's RLTS Sports. So I'll just copy it, paste it. Follow him on Twitter. Smartest guy in the room when it comes to realignment. Smartest guy in the room when it comes to media evaluations. He was the president of Fox Sports and helped create the Big Ten Network. You're not going to find anybody bigger in the industry. He's so big, there's a lot of stuff he can't talk to us about anymore that he could before, because he's been brought in as a consultant. So anyway, so that's Bob Thompson. A really quick health update. I told my team last night, at least most of them, I do have to go in for another surgery. The first one didn't quite get all of it in my tongue. And it's going to be a big one. I'm going to have to stay overnight, a couple nights. So, and I don't have a date yet. We're trying to get it done as quickly as possible. I was hoping for maybe even next week, but as soon as they got a time that's open, we're gonna do that surgery. And I'm gonna ask you guys to be kind to the rest of the College Football Mafia Network hosts. You guys know who I'm talking about. Ute, Moen, got Pickles and Becky. Amelia's jumped in and started helping us rock and rant. Everybody, it would take 2 hours to go through all of the contributors that we've had on the show, but I know this, personalities drive things and stuff like that. And I just want to make sure that I'm connecting with those members that have been loyal for a long time, or people that are considering becoming members. Just because you don't see me for a few weeks, and it might be a little bit of time, I need you to stay dialed in for me too, okay? Help these guys that I'm working with, and women that I'm working with, to keep this boat, a train on the tracks. It's hard to do that sometimes when you lose, a figurehead or anything like that. But I take this very seriously. I'm humbled by each one of you spending any time with me and the team. I'm shocked by the outreach and how nice people are. 7,000 people watching on Twitter, 4,300 subscribe on YouTube. That's real stuff, and I don't take you guys for granted. So just know the announcement will go out. I'll have the surgery, and we'll go down that road. But that's what's going to happen. So I'm just setting expectations. It's what I do for a job. So we will get to that anyway. So let me jump to some news items. And I grabbed these at random. Okay. Some were old, some were from earlier in the week, and some were from today. I'm going to start with one that actually came out a few days ago. In fact, it came out, what day was that? I'll make sure I get it, on the 6th. And it is the 11th. So last week. And it was this article about the Charlie Baker article. I don't care if you guys can see me or not. This is a Charlie Baker letter that they wrote representing the NCAA back to the court saying, hey, we want control of the NIL money these players get. Write them a check, pay for play, but the money goes through us. Okay? I guess you need to see me a little bit. The money would go through us, meaning the schools. And the NCAA doesn't want to give that up because where does the power reside? Power resides in the money, right? So follow the money. So follow this thought experiment with me, and then I'll show you my little poem I wrote. Follow this thought process. You're a 5-star QB. Let's just keep it simple. And you've got a contract with, like Shedeur Sanders has a $1 million watch contract with somebody, right? In the United States, we recognize merit. And we recognize people getting the things that they've earned. Whether you think they deserve it or not, it's not up to you. It's up to the guy spending the money. So this idea, and I'm going to bring this back up again, this idea that the NIL money goes through the school to get to the player, it's not really American. In fact, college football, NCAA especially, regulation, there was a quote, and I'm going to look it up again. If somebody has the time, I forgot to look it up overnight. But the NCAA college platform was called a cartel in the late 70s, early 80s. I know that because I'm an old guy. A cartel. Think about all the things that the NCAA does that nobody else does. There's a ton of them. But if we just stay with football, what's the one thing that football has done? Even though NCAA isn't, it's not, it's like the Bowl Alliance or whatever it is anymore, BCS. I don't even know what they call the bowl games anymore, college football playoff. But they take a cut of that money. The NCAA is still involved because they're the ones doing all the regulation, all the rules, all the compliance. That runs through the NCAA. If you allow them to have all the money that is coming from NIL numbers. For one thing, let's do a show of hands. People watching, 150 people watching on Twitter and on YouTube. I want anybody to tell me, and here I'm going to post the link. Anybody watching right now, take this link, join me, and I'd love to have the conversation about why you think NIL money should be administered by the NCAA and through the NCAA, the schools. Because I can't think of a single reason outside of control. All right, so that's what this letter is. Charlie telling the judge who said, what the hell are you even trying to do here? And this is the reply, right? And I'm not going to read the reply because it was very paternal. We were being patronized left and right. You, me, everybody in the world by some of the stuff they stay in here. This is like some of this, like this part right here. College sports impact is felt far beyond the walls of your schools. College sports careers open doors to life-changing education, serve as the premier stage for women's sports, blah, 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 blah. And by the way, I need to post the link to this tweet, by the way. I want to make sure I do that. I don't want to forget. It's complete garbage. It's absolutely complete garbage. I would really recommend you guys go through and read this article on this tweet. And then you come and tell me why you think the NCAA should have anything to do with NIL money coming from vendors. All right, I'm going to read you my reply. And this is obviously tongue in cheek, but this is my reply to kind of summing up what Charlie Baker's saying. We will go back to our clubhouse, meaning the NCAA, talk to each other again for a while, sit down, have a coffee, maybe a beer if you drink, then return to you, judge, in a courtroom to confirm we know what we're doing is right. They're patting themselves on the back for something being right. We know the NCAA is a wonderful organization that does great things, like Harry Potter, that deserves to give us extra credit. Hey man, we're here, we're helping out. Throw us a bone here. Let us control the money. Oh, and by the way, we know how to spin the bottomless pit of greed around NIL more than the players who aren't even college graduates, for heaven's sakes. Do trust us. It's like a plea. Do trust us. The NCAA, we're a trustful organization. We haven't been a cartel. We haven't been milking college athletes for, I don't know, how long? How long have they been basically doing the college athlete, we're going to milk you and until you die, basically? Well, they've been doing it for over 100 years. All right, I just posted my little poem. I went through the article. I'm not going to read the whole thing because it's garbage, but I just want to get comments from you guys. All right, I posted the link. If you guys want to join, I'd love to talk to somebody in person. I hate doing all the talking. Believe me, that's not what I get off on with this show here. Let's see. I'll just go big. We'll just work backwards from the earliest to the oldest. Daniel Gygax, again, a member. Thank you for being a member, Daniel. Will the NCAA tell player X, sorry, you can't have that $2 million endorsement, where it would put the university over the $22 million cap? I'm so glad you brought this up, Daniel, because they're two separate entities. The $22 million is basically a fund that each school can choose whether they want to. You're not being forced to participate. But any big-time football program that doesn't spend close to that amount just on their internal, it's not NIL, but their internal money they can give to players to come play for them, then what happens? Well, I mean, what happens? That fund, that $22 million, is the schools, and they don't have to even spend it all. BYU has said we're going to spend some of it, but we're going to be judicious and all that other stuff. I can't tell you where they're going to be on the money. I hope they spend the most, and I have said this out loud. In my opinion, 48 to 60 schools are going to be in 2 to 3 conferences in 6 years. I'm not saying the word Super League. I'm not talking about any of that crap. I'm literally saying the top 60 brands that can fund their football, and no, let's just talk football, their football programs almost to the max. Those are the ones that are going to be invited to this next thing because they're going to show commitment to the organization, whoever's running it. They're going to show they have deep pockets so they can contribute to the running of the thing. And third, at the end of the day, it's a recognition that the school go to boosters and get enough money for them to really compete in recruiting. So that's the first pool. That's not what this is about. This is about NIL going to a player saying, hey, man, I want you to mow my lawn. Has nothing to do with your football necessarily, but you're a brand. You're a Shedeur Sanders. People follow you on Twitter, on Instagram. If you're wearing my watch, people are going to want to buy it because they want to be like Shedeur. So come mow my lawn. And then every week, oops, the day that he shows up to mow the lawn, the sprinklers will be on and he can't mow. That's the money they're trying to control. So they want NIL money to go through the school, and then they want the $22 million fund that was negotiated in the House settlement, which we're going to talk about here in a second. The House settlement's another joke, in my opinion. There are two different funds. So we need to bifurcate those in our ideas and our thinking. It's difficult because they talk about them synonymous. They are not synonymous. Two different things. And that's what the judge is saying here. What are you saying? You want to control all this NIL money? So that's what they're talking about. Anyway, great to see you, Daniel. Thanks for being here. Kalani, good to see you. It's akin to a boxer signing up to the Golden Gloves organization and then complaining that it's an amateur organization. Well, I mean, that's true. That's a true statement. It is kind of like that. You're opting into this club. Nobody's forcing you to spend $22 million, right? So I think that's a great observation. These schools are either in or they're not in. All right, here we go. Jason Spangler has joined the chat. How you doing, Jason?
What's up, brother? Can you hear me?
I can.
Nice. Yo, great to see you. Yo, how are you doing? How's the health? I saw your little comment earlier. We're all pulling for you.
Right.
Prayers.
I'm doing okay. The process, it didn't get everything. So now they're gonna have to go back in, cut away quite a bit more of my tongue. And then I don't know if people know this, I didn't know this, but the ear, nose, throat, the reason there's a doctor that controls all those things is because they're all connected through your tongue.
Right.
So your ear goes to your tongue, throat goes through your tongue. So the tongue controls a lot of stuff, not just talking, drinking, eating, all that. So they have to cut more of that out. That's going to be a trial, obviously. And then they're going to take out some lymph nodes in my neck.
Okay, bro. Yo, just thinking about you. I did see you earlier speak about your other co-hosts and kind words. They're lucky to have you. But I have to say, every time I log on to your guys' show, if I see your face, I'm in.
Jason, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Thank you. I'm humbled. Actually, you would say something like that.
All good. But can I talk about games real quick?
Whatever you want to talk about. That's what we're doing.
The great, as I'm sure everyone knows, the great state of Kansas will be hosting all of college football this Friday night.
Yes.
And also exact same point spreads. So, and both had let's just call them underwhelming performances last week.
They did.
So I believe that you got to parlay both these together. I think both Kansas schools will cover. I think you're going to see a bit of a clap back. I think that on Kansas State's side, I didn't watch too much of that game. It was kind of just checking in with Tulane down there.
Right.
Kansas State, they're just better. They've just got better players. And I think you're going to see that. I don't think that – what did Arizona end up winning by the other day? It was –
I don't know.
I think it was – sorry. It wasn't near – they're not I like them, but I think they're kind of like all the other Big 12 teams. They're just like –
right.
They're like 80% of what the best teams are. Let's just be honest.
I picked them dead last.
Yeah. Arizona
State. Yeah, I had Arizona State, then I had Houston, I think.
Okay. So let's just say and then on the Kansas side, I think I know more than most people, but we lost Andy Konalecki.
Yes, I saw that after the game. I saw that come across on Twitter.
And his calling of the plays from last year, he's at Penn State now. You have to say that a lot of us got frustrated with him a lot, last year. He would get too cute, but he's a great, let's just call him a jump start coordinator for a program. It's exactly what he did for Kansas. But he would not have lost that game last week to Illinois. Jeff Grimes, is that his name? Grimes or whoever we got now.
Yeah.
It's just becoming apparent that, am I the only one that sees an offensive coordinator on the field calling plays that they need to be up top? I don't know. There's just things.
Yeah, I'll just butt in right here because you're talking about Grimes. Yeah. Grimes is he's LDS, right? So he played and now coached through BYU, then went to Baylor, then went to you guys, and in every one of those places, the first stop, the first year is pretty good. Second year is really excellent, but then after that, everything falls off. So yeah, I think he's. In his mind, he thinks he's really good, but I don't necessarily.
We've got. I know it's probably been, but of all the Kansas fans, we've got this Devin Neal who ran the ball 14 times.
Yeah.
And when he did run it, I think he averaged like 7.5 yards a carry. It's not like he was doing. I don't know. It was just very frustrating.
Do you think it was a? Do you think this is all about Jalen Daniels and the Heisman?
Well, he was not like, I've never been a Jalen Daniels, like, I don't want to be a revisionist, but whenever when did I like when he sat out that Texas game, and he got hurt, we know that. But what I had a problem with was this whole like nobody knew until the day of situation. Because even I think the coaching staff, and ever since then, there's this like, yes, he's got tremendous talent. If you watch that game, there was this one drive in the middle. I think it was the third quarter where the KU blocking was unbelievable. Daniels was whipping the ball around, and then it's just like, what are you doing? Like, what are these interceptions? These things that, and I hate to say it, but like, yeah, we're like, where's our man Jason Bean? But we don't have Bean, we don't have Kanalecki.
Yeah.
And I'm just looking at it like, and UNLV's coming in. UNLV is a good team. We played them in the bowl last year. We beat them, but they scored plenty of points on us. But I do think that we're going to be, coming back to that little situation over there at the soccer stadium, Children's Mercy, where we're playing this game. I think it's good for us. I think we're going to I think we are going to win. I think we're going to cover, and I think you're going to see K-State do the same against Arizona. So that's what I got, bro. Just wanted to jump on and send well wishes, but
thank you.
Rock Chalk, let's do it.
Rock Chalk Jayhawk, I love it. Thank you so much, Jason. Appreciate it a lot. And yeah, I update everything on Twitter. So if you're following me there, you'll know what I'm going to be doing. All right. Thank you so much, Jason Spangler. He's an OG to the College Football Mafia Network, and certainly Big 12 Mafia is where we started that. So I really appreciate you joining, Jason. Let me repost that link. So we talked a little Kansas and Kansas State there. This next week is a big week. It's an off week for everybody, except for a couple conference games. And this is a big week. Like BYU needs to beat up Wyoming, for instance. I mean, beat them up. And I don't know if that's going to happen. And I hate that feeling. So we're going to have to find out, because if the Big 12 loses a bunch of these games, it's not going to be pretty. I can just tell you that. It's going to be bad, bad, bad. So anyway. All right, let's get to some more news. I appreciate it, Jason calling. Here's the link to join again if you guys want in. Don't know if I just did that or not, but we'll do it again anyway. Put that link down if you want to join. Hop on for a few minutes. All right. Yeah, there it is. I did do it twice. Sorry about that. All right, next news item. Put this down. I'll come back to that later. So, did anybody like my little poem? I'm looking for feedback. I thought I did a pretty good job on my poem. I don't know if anybody else cared, but I did spend like 5 minutes on it. Anyway, I'm sorry, I'm being silly. All right. Next news item. Let's see here. Nope, that wasn't it. No, that's what I just did. What's this one? All right, let's talk house settlement. Oh boy, deep breath. Where are we at with the house settlement? Well, there's a couple things going on. First one that we just talked about is the NIL and what happens with the NIL, right? That's a big deal. Follow the money. That's always what it is. Follow the money. What's the next one? To me, the very first one that stood out to me when it was announced was the fact that no schools below G5 were even included in the negotiations. And yet they are being tied to a contract. Not only are they being demanded money that these programs, like a MAC school, they can't be giving up $500,000 to give to some settlement that their players don't even get any of the money. Can anybody, again, I put the link in there, can anybody defend the house settlement to me? I said it today. Let me go to my main one right here. I laid it out in case people didn't know. The thing's not that, obviously. Where are we at? I put it all together so everybody could understand kind of all the things. What the hell is that? Oh, yeah, now I'm mad. Well, I'll do it off the top of my head. Collective bargaining is one. The players can't collectively bargain. NIL is two. What do you do with players that are hurt and insurance and healthcare? It's another one, right? I know I'm forgetting like 2 others. Doesn't matter. There's a lot of problems with the House settlement. So if I go back to this, let me go back to this article from Amanda Kristovich. Here's the link. I want to make sure I give credit. We always give credit where credit's due. Post that in the comments. You guys can check that out. Read along if you want. But I'm just going to run through this really quick. Front Office Sports has been on this from the beginning. Amanda is a fantastic writer, so I'd recommend everybody go and watch that. I don't know if I got logged in. I did get logged in. Less than a week after a federal judge told attorneys to go back to the drawing board, which is what we spoke about a little bit ago, House versus NCAA settlement, the proposal has been hit with an objection from a state attorney general. Can anybody guess what the state was? A really hotbed of college football blood, real blue blood area. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm being a little sarcastic. It's South Dakota, people. The AG from South Dakota did a suit, filed a suit. Oops, I can't go that far. Right there. Filed a suit to represent schools that are in his state that are being tied to this settlement, required to pay money, but weren't involved in any of the negotiations. Here's some quotes. I'm disappointed that our South Dakota athletes and universities are paying the price, I'll mark it so everybody knows where I'm at, for a settlement that did not involve any of our conduct. They're not involved in these big NIL deals or massive claims from players. They're not part of any huge class action, and yet they're being tied to it by the House settlement. He says this settlement unlawfully and blatantly discriminates from female student athletes by limiting them to 10% of the proceeds. We're not even talking football anymore. This is about Title IX. You got schools that are get money taken from them. Title IX is not settled, which is federal law, by the way. I don't know what they're going to do with that, but something has to change there. And the settlement actually says in pen and paper that at least 10% of it has to go to female athletes. I mean, where did they think? This is what I think they did. Here, I'll do this one too. This is a summary of where it is. In July, the NCAA and Power 5 Conference filed a proposal to settle the House versus NCAA as well as other antitrust lawsuits. The settlement contains two components: $2.8 billion in back pay for athletes who couldn't participate in NIL before NIL was even a thing, before 2021, and future revenue sharing agreement. Just last week, Northern District of California did not grant a preliminary approval to the settlement, mostly because the issues related to the NIL collective deals. The parties now have 3 weeks to determine whether they can settle. This is just two of them. Collective bargaining isn't even really talked about. Does anybody know why collective bargaining isn't really brought up in this agreement? Anyone? Bueller? Anybody? I'm going to post the link. Anybody join the show? Love to have you. We can't get the phone thing to work, so I apologize to you guys about that. So if anybody can explain this to me, hop on the show and we can try to walk through it. But at the end of the day, in the meantime, South Dakota's Attorney General and the two universities in the state argues in court documents that the settlement unfairly burdens non-power conference schools, excuse me, financially, which is what I said at the beginning, even though they have no participation and had no say in the proposal. They took my reply after the thing was announced, my reply on Twitter, and they just mixed up some words and posted it right here, because that's exactly what I said when the settlement was announced. It wasn't in the NIL, it wasn't Title IX, even though Title IX's huge, right? Female athletes are equal to men. There's a way they got to work that out. The other flip side of that argument is football is where all the money is, and there's no females in football. So I don't know how that's going to be settled. It's this idea that you're getting together, you're negotiating for other parties that they don't even have a representative in the room. And yet they're being dictated to with a list. And wherever your school is, this is where you're slotted to have to pay in money to back pay players for NIL money. I'm telling you, people, there's no way this thing gets approved the way it is. Absolutely zero possibility that happens. If it goes back for a rewrite, the thing could blow up. If they told the judge, yeah, we want to go to court, what happens if they go to court? Anyone? They go to court, it is going to be a disaster. They could lose and have like a $10 billion lawsuit on their hands. Moen changed all my little things. Where's my... I'm sorry, people. Moen's moved stuff around. Anyway, I don't... There's no way this thing gets approved. They lose in court, you're going to have many, many billions of dollars you're going to have to do for collective bargaining. It's still going to come around. Eventually, all the schools, all the players are going to be able to collectively bargain, whether it's through their schools as contract workers, through a union. As on Twitter, I've put out several companies that have formed unions now that want to represent the players. And the last one, and this is the one that really is the kicker, and this one, actually, the idea came to mind from me to even think about it was with Immaculate View. He knows this stuff in and out and has for a long time. But the one thing that he brought up that is absolutely the core of everything is that these players are just floating out there. They can get together and file their own lawsuits because there's no indemnity for more lawsuits, more class action. They settle this, that's fine. That contract is with the NCAA. Let me show you what the nightmare scenario is. Let me bring this up, and then I'm going to do a 9/11 tribute here in just a second. Where are we at? Nope, not that one. I want to make sure I have the right one. Some really good articles today. Here it is. Let me show you. I'll just do the full thing again. This is the deal. Former Michigan football players file $50 million lawsuit. 4 players. $50 million lawsuit against the Big Ten and a Big Ten network and the NCAA. Let me post the link to this. It's a great grab. I highly recommend everybody go to these articles I'm posting. Everybody go to them and read them later. They are fantastic. I can't remember if this one was paywalled or not. I'll just check on it. Sometimes we run into paywalls, sometimes we don't. And I just lost it. There we go. 4 former Michigan football players, including Braylon Edwards, everybody knows who Braylon Edwards is, and Denard Robinson, both played in the NFL, have filed a class action suit against the NCAA and the Big Ten Network seeking more than $50 million for being unwillfully denied. Not just left off, but they're saying they were denied the ability to make money off their name, image, and likeness. So as everybody's tracking this with me, I'm trying to tell a story. I hope everybody's understanding kind of, sometimes I get mixed up. So you have a settlement that the NCAA wants to have, and they want it done. They want it like this, and they want to never have to deal with it again. NIL is now working. Players will get paid. Fine, whatever. That's what the NCAA wanted to do. They wanted to, shove it into a cupboard drawer, shut it, and then sit there and say, okay, this is the thing we're leaning on. Oh, by the way, in our settlement, we also got what? They got indemnified. They got an antitrust block. You cannot sue them later, which is what these guys are doing, except for these guys are doing a little different because they're not just suing the NCAA. Who else they sealing? Sorry? Who else are they suing? They're suing Big Ten Network. The Big Ten Network is who they're suing. So they figured it out. Their lawyer said, hey, you know what? Everybody else is suing the NCAA. Why don't we go after this? Yeah, we might settle with the NCAA for a little bit, but man, nobody's suing the Big Ten Network yet. And that's where this just becomes a giant house of cards. Because we're talking about every broadcast media now potentially could be sued. Pac-12 network, even though it's defunct. You got the ACC network, the SEC network, ESPN by itself. It's insane, guys. It is absolutely insane. And they tried to do this. They tried to sneak it in under the gun so nobody was paying attention. And I'm so glad this judge was as smart as she was because she sees through all their games. All right, Pickles, how you doing tonight, man?
Can you hear me, Bomber?
Yeah, I got you. What's up?
Right on. Seems like I missed some fun talking about the legal proceedings. Been planning to go on my big old fashioned family road trip, but
Oh, don't worry about it. It's fine. I was just reviewing stuff that we've already known for a long time.
yeah, had a couple minutes to spare, and I think the saga. I mean, we're all going to focus on the season and everything, but it is important to keep an eye on it.
Yes.
A lot of this I think will be hashed out. It kind of feels like although there's multiple lawsuits, they'll all kind of get resolved around the same time because they're kind of dominoes in a chain. One ruling will affect the next and so on because it'll
Well, that's
dictate.
what the NCAA hopes.
Yeah.
The NCAA hopes that they'll combine them. They're not all combined right now.
Well, even if they don't combine, it's that if one of them gets ruled on first, it may restrict
It's
the
the
outcomes in
precedent.
some of the other ones.
The precedent you're talking about. Once the precedent
Yes.
is there, that'll help guide rulings. But there's something else that, again, this is just expanding by the day. The individual states have their own rules. Sunshine laws in Florida. So there might be different amount of payouts and resolution in Texas than there is in Washington.
Yeah, and
Doesn't
I
matter
think
what the guidance is.
unfortunately, that was the NCAA's job, is to get ahead of this thing and kind of
Yep.
put guidelines in place, but they let it go completely off the rails before somebody stepped in. So I actually foresee a scenario. I don't think it happens right away, but I foresee a scenario where at least the revenue sports are just going to be done with the NCAA. They're going to come to their own. I don't know if you want to call it a league, but they'll basically, whatever conferences want to participate at the highest level for football and basketball will come to a set of agreements, basically leveling the playing field in terms of what. Not that it doesn't mean that every school will spend the same, but it'll put guardrails and limitations on it, so it's not just a free for all.
Yeah, I don't know if that's true or not. There's stuff that we've taken for granted. We've taken for granted for decades that I don't think those rules necessarily apply now, though. The world is a different place. Title IX being left out of this, except for just saying here's a dollar amount, 10%. What does that make sense? Defend no Title IX funding at 50%.
I don't think I can, and the argument that I could see being made is because the amount of money being funneled into the two sports, although it pays the bills for the rest, it's causing the arms race is causing other programs to have to cut sports.
Yes.
Maybe not your Ohio States and Stanfords and Texas who value winning directors cups, but certain schools will slowly have to cut sports. There were rumors at Washington that they were talking about it, depending on funding coming into the Big Ten. For now, it looks like everything's okay. But for example, Washington wrestling got cut more than a decade ago, just
right.
because there wasn't funding, and partially because of Title IX.
Right.
I almost hope that they remove specifically football from the Title IX calculation in terms of scholarships, because
How do they do that though? It's a federal. It has to be amended at Congress.
Yeah, I think it has to be amended, and I think the argument could strongly be made at Congress that football specifically, because of how many scholarships a team requires, it overweights it, and it actually restricts men's sports that can be participated at the school because they have to load up on female sports in order to balance it.
Right. So the way BYU does it is they've picked their top Olympic sports. Then obviously there's the sports that make money. And then anything that isn't an official, they put together club teams.
Yeah.
And in my opinion, that's what's going to happen at Iowa State. That's what's going to happen at Duquesne. That's what's going to happen at Miami of Ohio. That's the only way to balance everything out is these schools are going to divest from the sanctioned sports, and you're going to see club sports explode across the United States.
Yeah, it's just unfortunate because that means that the level of funding is obviously going to go down, or maybe
Right.
maybe it won't. But that's part of my logic that I think in a lot of these Olympic sports or possibly sports that aren't necessarily nationally contested, they're a little more regional. You're going to see teams kind of get away from, maybe like Washington, for example, like they have a beach volleyball team, and so does USC. They're not going to play in the Big Ten. There's nobody to play. They're going to play Cal Poly and San Diego and teams like that.
Yes.
I think you're going to see that type of thing escalate, where those sports will return to regionality and also for travel reasons.
Okay, I think it's a reasonable assessment. At the end of the day, the House settlement, and I'm going to have to find my own tweet. I'm not even sure where I put it. Let me just check something really quick. If you go to messages, no, it's not a message. What are they called? Where you message yourself. What is that? Bookmarks. Thank you. Give me a second here, because there is one, because I did a tweet that summed up all the holes in the system.
Yeah.
And the things that need to be resolved. It's a really good tweet. I was proud of myself. And now I can't find it. So I'll find that and then I will repost it. But this idea that all these holes are in the system and they're just going to ask a judge to just write it and send it out the door to be it done. In my opinion, all the stuff that's happened with college sports now, judges are activists. Look what's happening in Florida. Look what happened in, Whitman County in Washington. Yukon. Look what happened up in the Northeast for was it Dartmouth, right? These are all areas that they've found activist judges that aren't just going to go by precedent that doesn't really apply, because this has never happened before.
Yeah, they don't have a precedent to work on, and I think it kind of plays into what you said earlier, that the laws are not even consistent state to state, so the rulings are going to be different even on similar cases.
Yes.
It's just the reality. I mean, that's the nature of the country we live in, where we have a national reaching, governing body, the NCAA and college sports, but then you have a complete tapestry of states that are ruling on it and trying to dictate individual things. And that's where it comes to me that it might not be in the near future, but within the next few years, the federal government or somebody is going to have to step in, because the NCAA didn't take actions beforehand.
You think so?
I think because it's going to be so convoluted and there's going to be so many conflicting things, especially, I mean, anything that makes a giant amount of money, which college sports does, eventually attracts people that want to regulate it and dictate how it runs. So,
yeah, that's right. But I would counter and say that because this has never been done before, asking Congress to be the savior is the worst thing the NCAA could do.
Yeah, no, I think
it's absolutely the worst thing they could do.
Oh, I think that they're going to ask Congress to save them, and Congress is basically going to come to the conclusion, actually, college sports does need a little bit of governance and a little bit of rules to live by, but the NCAA is no longer necessary. I think they're going to put their finger on the scale, and it's actually not going to be in the NCAA's favor.
Yeah, I agree. Larry, the GM, always has great comments. And right now I'm going to take a second. We've been doing this for an hour, which is insane. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. If you're watching on Twitter, I put the rules down under the banner. Join us over on YouTube. Subscribe. Give us a thumbs up. Leave us a comment or suggestion. Send me DMs or send Pickles DMs on Twitter, and get involved. We're trying to grow our organization here. We accept all super chats, super stickers, any donations you want to provide. But mostly it's just to keep the lights on so we can keep doing stuff for you guys. So Larry, the GM's got his finger on the pulse right here. The judges are demanding they act like free market operations.
The problem with that is, in a free market, failing entities go under and they become insolvent. And that means schools cutting their entire athletic departments or cutting teams, which I don't think anyone wants. So that's where I think they have to put their finger on the scale a little bit and keep schools from folding their athletic programs, or at least folding a majority of their sports.
Antoine Codes, another member. By the way, I love you guys that are members. Thank you so much. He says, Greg said on Peek Around the Corner, we're talking about Greg Flugar, Flug Empire. The Big Ten has no intentions of doing the regional thing, which I haven't really been talking about that much. I think you have, though, for their Olympic sports. What do you think about that? Because I'm torn. I see the reasoning, But to me, the best way to fix the whole thing is just take football out, just take basketball out, and then throw everything into a big mismatch and just who cares what conference you're in. What do you think about this?
I Big Ten people can correct me if I'm wrong. I'd have to go back and look at the exact definitions when they expanded to 18, but it was something to the effect of if there isn't a sanctioned conference sport, as far as I think that requires either 6 or 8 schools minimum to participate in it, then you're free to have your school participate in whatever regional conference you want. So basically, if the Big Ten doesn't have enough teams to support you, you're free without any penalty whatsoever to go play Cal Poly or San Diego or teams out west, specifically for schools like Washington. So it's where the reason I think that's relevant is, like I said, as teams cut more and more programs, or as you said, put them back into being club sports, they're no longer going to be sanctioned by the conference. You're going to see more and more return to regionality. That's where, in my opinion, it ends up.
Well, I guess we'll find out sooner than later. But at the end of the day, these lawsuits are just going to continue going and going. I've been talking to David McKenzie, friend of the show. He's representing the ACC for the most part. I think his school is North Carolina State, or is it Duke? Anyway, David McKenzie, very smart lawyer. He and Doug Rohan, both friends of mine, both have been contributors on my show. Obviously, Florida State is looking at law a different way than the ACC is, or anybody else that's in the ACC and ESPN. They're literally going to a judge and saying, we cannot live in this world. Something has to change. There's really nothing to settle. You're going to have to either make a ruling or force us to go to arbitration with an actual command. If you don't do that, then this will never get settled, because Florida State is, I think we figured out now, they are not going back to the ACC.
No,
they're not. And probably not either is Clemson.
I find it highly unlikely. It's just a matter of when, know, because there is a reality where, due to financial constraints or possibly even legal ones, they're stuck in that conference for several more years. It might not be as quick an exit as they would prefer.
Yeah, but the point is they don't want to be there.
Yeah, very clearly. I mean, you don't sue your conference unless you're absolutely certain you no longer want to be part of it.
Absolutely. So what do you think about this separate lawsuit? I'll bring it up again from the Michigan people. $50 million for 4 players. It's roughly $12.5 million for each one. And they're suing the Big Ten Network.
I didn't see the details on this. I didn't have time quite to read through the premise of the article.
Oh, okay.
Was this directly tied to NIL, or was this they're suing the network over some specific thing?
Let's just go through it.
Yep.
No, I and maybe you missed this, but I've already read this once. But anyway, have filed a class action suit against the NCAA and Big Ten Network, seeking more than $50 million for being denied NIL opportunities. NIL is only 3 years old or something, right? So, and they're saying beginning of 2021. Then they mentioned Big Ten Network, NCAA, and the bottom line is, they've seen everybody else is suing the NCAA and they want to separate themselves from it. I'm sure that's the strategy, and go to another media partner. And at the time, I think ESPN was covering Big Ten too, weren't they? Maybe they weren't. But you have Fox.
Yeah.
You could sue, but they don't want to piss them off, do they? So who are they suing? They're suing the Big Ten Network.
Yeah, it's pretty foolish in my opinion, because we just had the class action lawsuit with House versus NCAA, and the ruling was it $6 billion allocated over however many years.
No, it's 2.8.
Or sorry, 2.8.
2.8 over 10 years.
Or were they asking for 6 and they got 2.8? Is that how it worked?
I have no idea where they're asking for more and they didn't get it. That's all I'm saying.
In any case, I don't see how you sue the network individually, because the network's financial agreements is with the conference. I'm not a legal scholar. This is me thinking logically, and sometimes legal stuff isn't always logical. I mean, wouldn't they be suing the conference itself, because the conference is the one selling their product to the network? So I don't understand.
No. You're putting reason to it. It's not.
Yeah,
about
I know.
reason.
They're just suing.
They're suing anything that's moving, trying to get money. They're both out of the league, I think now, and they want more money. So
yeah,
I don't think it's any deeper than that.
Yeah, I never went to college, Bomber. I'm a simple man. I like to live logically whenever possible.
Well, at the end of the day, none of that matters, right?
Yeah,
you don't take a college degree to heaven. So
yeah, it is applying logic to a generally illogical system, but I think it's a bad precedent. I think I would hope the judge would make them show overwhelming and direct correlation that the actions of the networks in specific restricted their ability to make money, because the question needs to be asked, okay, this other lawsuit was pending and either they didn't take action or perhaps they were part of it, but to rule in their favor without a really high standard of you suffered direct loss of income because of the conference, I think it's a really bad precedent, and you're going to have these networks sued into the ground.
All right.
If for every single athlete that wants money off them.
I completely agree. So I found my article. I bookmarked it. It's all set. Here's the link, and it's not an article, but it's 5 of the many more. But these are the primary problems with the House versus NCAA settlement that, as I see them, as I've gone through the news. You guys know how much time I spend trying to find out how this stuff works. It's really, Ute does his thing. This is my thing. Let me bring it up here. So, and I'm going to block us both out there for a second. Okay, so this is in reply to that NCAA article that I brought up just a little bit. The House settlement thing with Baker really pissed me off. So these are 5 of the many, many reasons. I posted the link to my tweet. I encourage you to read it, leave a comment, tell me I'm crazy. Let's argue on Twitter, but let's get some engagement on this, because this is what people need to focus on, this and not this side stuff that the NCAA is trying to make people do. And even some of the schools are doing these side stories. So these are national commitments. All right, here we go. Number 1, all schools below the A4 level, Power 4 level, were not involved in the negotiations. This is my number 1, and are penalized proportionally more, leading to a class action lawsuit. That's number 1. Number 2, NCAA NIL control of the money coming into a program instead of the free market, which I believe we just saw that comment from Larry, the GM. Free market. Title IX, and this one should be in capitals. And it's really maybe the biggest of all of them. Title IX considerations unaddressed outside of you have to do 10%. Number 4, player collective bargaining is not addressed, hoping for congressional oversight. Pickles just said that. They're waiting for the federal government. Baker made an appeal in the spring and he was begging Congress to come in and provide help. And the last one is antitrust exemptions from further lawsuits, like the Michigan one we just saw. And these are just my top 5. Other people probably have some. This is something I'm going to talk to Dave McKenzie and Doug Rohan next time I see them. But this story right here is huge. I recommend everybody go to that on Twitter, leave a comment. If you disagree with me, or you think that the interpretation that we've been using to make our judgments is flawed, please reply to this comment. I'm trying to get engagement, because I think this right here is more important almost than any other story we're currently dealing with.
Yeah, I'm self-admitted someone who, once the season comes, I just like to focus on what happens on the field.
Right.
But it is the 1,000-pound anvil hanging over all of our heads, and it's going to drop at some point.
Yes.
Yeah, I lean on those legal scholars. We got guys like Doug Rohan that are far better. As I said, I'm just an absolutely speculative person with no real professional, experience. That was my failing with the Pac-12 situation, is that I looked at it from a logical perspective.
By the way, I tried talking you down. I spent 4 or 5 months trying to talk you down for where it was going to end up to be.
I mean, the crazy thing is it's not like it was a foregone conclusion, but our presidents are who they were. So, but I digress. We have moved on to greener pastures, for good or bad.
Let's play some football. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, we got to
All
play
right.
some football. And as I said, I'm going on my trip. It's on a strange side note for me. It's Apple Cup week.
Yep,
It
it
sounds
is.
so bizarre.
Yep.
I know you growing up, Bomber. You're probably used to it like I am. Friday after Thanksgiving, you got
Absolutely.
leftovers. You make turkey sandwiches and you throw on the Apple Cup.
Yep.
But it's still pretty warm outside, and we got some in-state football rivalries. Yeah, it's very strange, but we're gonna beat the Cougs. I have no doubt about it. I saw a couple of picks online. There was a panel of 5 people, and 3 of them took the Cougars straight up. So they're going to find out. They're going to find out what the Apple Cup's all about and the fact that Washington dominates.
Washington perennial. I think you could say that. Washington State's got a good team this year. It'll be a fun game. I'm looking forward to it. It sucks that this game, the Civil War, and then the Holy War are all before Thanksgiving weekend. I think that's criminal. So hopefully they get that fixed. All the conferences get this crap fixed.
Yeah. I got to say, though, that there was just to take it back to last year, we played Oregon week 6, and that was about perfect because neither of us knew for sure that we were, the favorites to win the conference or the teams going to the conference championship.
Right.
But there was just enough juice on that game to make it a huge deal. So I think playing rivalries kind of mid-season, but not too early. And right at the end, if one of the teams is out of it, it kind of takes a little juice off of it for, fans who aren't, or people who aren't fans of those teams. So I don't know. I've slowly grown to like these mid-season rivalries. I think Immaculate's rubbing up on me with his million rivals he's got.
Well, there you go. All right. Do you want to stick around? I'm just going to do more news, or whatever you want to do.
I gotta go be a dad for a little bit.
Okay.
But,
all right. That's more important than this.
While I got a minute.
Thank you very much for joining me, Pickles. I really appreciate it. I don't have any of the sounders, so I'll just clap you off the stage. And thank you for all the work you're doing on the Big Ten Mafia show. That's catching some people's attention. So you guys are doing really good work. I want you to know that I appreciate it.
Yep, and catch us every Monday. We're doing Big Ten Mafia show, and as I said, in my absence, Moen and Becky will be having on hopefully some fantastic guests. They're reaching out to the Greg Pflugar types of the world to possibly come on as guests, previewing some Big Ten games.
Good.
So that'll be exciting stuff, and I will see you all in a few weeks back on Monday.
All right. Thanks a lot, Pickles. Good to see you. Clap you off stage. Way to go.
Yeah. Go dog.
All right. So let me put anybody else wants to join. We can talk about whatever you want to, as long as it's not inappropriate. There's the link. And just click on that link and join me. You don't have to, like Pickles didn't show his face. You can do it from your phone. You can do it from your computer. I wanted to get to this. David Frame, good comment, David. I'm thinking NIL and Title IX would have nothing to do with each other, ? How can a player be forced to pay 10% tax to women's sports? I think that's more for the school, right? So this is the guidance. For one thing, the House thing isn't approved. So right now there's no money. No extra money going to women's sports from anything in football that the school's not already doing. If the House settlement goes through or anything that's close to the way it's set up right now, 10% of that money they get every year is going to be, they're mandating it has to go to Title IX. They're trying not to get sued. Again, they're not indemnified from lawsuits. Anybody can sue them right now. If I had a reason, I'd sue them for something. Just being bad. I like the cartel comparison. So they're not connected in that regard. But the money that the school they're not receiving $22 million every year. They can spend, each school can spend up to $22 million. So it's really up to the school, like your last statement. It is up to the school. But is that the right thing? Is 10% where we're comfortable with that? I know I've got 3 girls, and if they had been in sports, I would want them to have every opportunity possible. I don't think 10% is going to get it. So we'll have to see. Time will tell. More of those things will pop up. All right, let me get this next one. Digital Dam. Do you guys know who Digital Dam is? He's contributed on my show before. Really smart Oregon State fan. If you're not following him on Twitter, just go to @TheDigitalDam. This is a conversation he started, I believe it was today. Oh, wait, I missed something Back up. Here's the link to the tweet I was just looking at. Sorry, I got to get off Digital Dan for a second. I wanted to do a real quick tribute. Today is 9/11. Let me take my hat off. I take this stuff pretty seriously. 9/11, I was in Utah. When the first plane hit, I was in the car almost to my office. When the second plane hit, I watched it live on television. And still to this day, it's the most remarkable thing I think I've ever seen in my life. This is a photo taken the night before. So this is September 10th, 2001. And you see all those lights on. Tens of thousands of people work in there. The fact that only, 2,000? Little over 2,000 people died is a miracle. Don't buy into any of this conspiracy crap either. So that's the before. I wanted to pay tribute to that, saying this is where we were. This is where we are now. This actually came from the Big 12. I'm going to take that. I think it was a beautiful photo. I'm going to share that so you guys can also maybe make it your screensaver. I don't care what it is. But I'm 54 now, and this will be me and getting married and having my kids. Most memorable things I think in my entire life. And I've been to Ground Zero. I was there a year after, which was crazy. Maybe it was 2 years after. I apologize. 2003. And it's amazing. If you've never been, take your family. The footprint of where the buildings were, it's all now a monument. It's absolutely beautiful. You can look on YouTube for it. Just go to 9/11 Memorial, Twin Towers Park, or whatever they call it. So anyway, I wanted to take a second and get to this. A big tribute. If you're a member of the police force, you're a fireman, you're an FBI agent, anything to do with safety and security for our country. Obviously, all military members. If you've been a member, I thank you for your service. If you're retired, all I can do is say I'm so glad you did that, so that I can be doing this tonight. To me, this is a big day. It's on my calendar, and I try to remember it. So we're just gonna sit here for about 30 seconds, not a full minute, but I'm gonna watch the timer, and we're gonna sit for I'm gonna sit for 30 seconds. I guess you can leave if you want to, and just pause and think about what you care about in your life. What is the most important thing for you in your life? And then consider giving thanks and reaching out to loved ones that you might not have seen for a while. So I'm going to sit here for a minute, and then we'll get back to the show. Thank you. I really appreciate everybody being here. It doesn't look like I lost a lot of people. Maybe a few left. Didn't know what we were doing, but I'm going to take this opportunity to get you guys. I get emotional about this because you guys are here off of an idea that I worked on for 35 years in my head, and the loyalty of everybody that's participated as a paying member or done super chats or just been friends on Twitter. I cannot thank you guys enough. When this popped up today, I got emotional. The team that I have, Wild Ute, being willing to start something with a BYU guy. You got Moen, who's, he's the puppet master. He knows how to get these shows going. Becky and Pickles started a show all on their own, and they're now building a brand with the Big Ten Mafia brand. Super proud of them. Rock and Rant, who has come in and really provided a lot of support about halfway through the whole thing. I want to give real shout out to Immaculate View, helped get us going. He started doing some other things. We started doing some other things, but I'm very grateful for the hard work he put in to get us started. And if you're not following him on Twitter, you're missing out. He's engaged. He'll have conversations with you where you can't get those. So Immaculate View, at Immaculate View on Twitter. And then last but not least, last one to the party was Amelia Ilanol. It's Ilanol, and is new and going to be a new contributor. Try to get her on there more often. Peek around the corner, Greg Flugar, Justin Coos Corner, and the list just goes on and on. I'm going to stop there. So I'm thankful for all of you, and thank you for everybody that's provided help. And I'm just going to encourage you, let's do another year. Let's get more subscriptions, more people following me. Let's get some more follows on Twitter. Subscribe on YouTube. That is so important for us right now if we're on Twitter. And then all of your super chats, all the membership stuff, everything you do, I really, really appreciate. Anyway, okay, let's move on to some more football stuff. 9/11, never forget. All right. So today I asked David McKenzie, who's been on top of these rulings that have come out about Florida State and the ACC and ESPN. Let me bring this up so everybody can see it. Where are we at? Here we are. I asked him, well, you can see he's summarizing a ruling that happened today. I'll just start at the top. A North Carolina organization, he's talking about the ACC, filing suit in a North Carolina court over a North Carolina contract that was signed in North Carolina and that is governed by North Carolina law. That's not what's happening, though, in Florida, right? In Florida, they are absolutely doing their own rulings. So I asked him, I said, if this is going to be as big a cluster as it looks, if the NCAA decides they want to go to court instead of settle, if they lose this argument, as the next step, they appeal to the Supreme Court of the United States. I'm going to copy this link so you guys can get to this chat interaction. I encourage everybody to read the article down here below that I'm going to summarize. Misguided hopes. This is about everybody hoping that the Supreme Court of the United States will come in and settle this FSU, ACC, ESPN mess. Why FSU's case against the ACC won't see the inside of a Supreme Court. And then the article, it's extremely long. I guess this isn't one of the ones that's extremely long. It appears some commentators are boldly asserting that Article 3, Section 2 of the Constitution places FSU and the ACC dispute in the lap of all 9 justices of the United States Supreme Court. They argue that any controversy involving a state is a contract dispute invokes original jurisdiction of the Supreme Court. So I'm not going to go through the rest of this, but he's saying right now, the way it looks to him, the chance he gets to the Supreme Court of the United States is very slim. So if it goes to trial and they settle, or they go to trial and they have a judgment, either one of those things, they're going to be held accountable for that stuff on the other end, right? Whatever the settlement is, they have to agree to, and everybody has to be all right. There has to be a cost for Clemson and Florida State to leave. What is that amount? What is the judgment? Everybody's hoping the Supreme Court will bail out these state judges in North Carolina, in South Carolina, in Florida. David think that that's a very narrow opportunity to have happen. So I don't know how you guys have felt about it. So I want to ask you guys, interact right now with me. Do you think that the FSU, ESPN, ACC thing will be go to the Supreme Court? Do you guys think that's where it's going to end up? Let me put my hat back on. So right now, everybody, I want to see your comments. Oh my gosh, we have David McKenzie is actually in the house. Holy cow, David, thank you so much for being here on X. I'm loving seeing these X comments. That is awesome. It's working. To be honest, I doubt there will be a settlement in this case. Why the heck would you settle if you were the ACC? I'm agreeing with you. I think the settlement is a win for Clemson and Florida State and anybody else. The nuclear option, in my opinion, was the only destination we were ever going to end up. It was going to go to court. Right when the lawsuit came out, we talked about it. I said there's no way the ACC's, this is all or nothing for the ACC. All or nothing. They could not be risking anything more than what they're getting right now in these courts. So take it all the way to the end. And then this is, I love this. I love poker, by the way. He says, you don't fold with a royal flush. So he thinks the ACC's got the cards they need to win this thing if it goes all the way to the end. That's certainly a strategy. There's no doubt about it. You know, what does everybody else think about it? You know, here's Sky. Sky's a UAU fan. We talk on Twitter. How you doing, Sky? Nathan, if you want my opinion, you'll have to pay me billables for 1 hour. Oh my gosh, that's so funny, Sky. Obviously, that's a joke. Everybody's been saying billable hours. I think Moen said it first on one of our shows. I'm not sure if he made it up or not, but billable hours are undefeated. Judges, sorry, not the judges, but the lawyers are going to get paid a lot of money, and this is going to go a long, long time. It has to go to court, though. I agree with that. Sky says he's doing good. Thank you so much, Sky. Appreciate the update. It's great to see you. Illini Ted, another member, says, I don't think it should, but isn't that the American way, to just keep going to a higher court until there is no higher entity to reach? So I sent an invite to you, David. I don't know if you want to join me for a few minutes, but sort of flesh this out for everybody. We can do it a different night. It doesn't have to be tonight. I've got tons of stuff for reference tonight, so we don't have to do it tonight. But I think this is the question most people are asking, right? What is that backstop? Which is why I sent that question out today. Is like, is this going to end up at SCOTUS? So we'll find out. I don't know, Lion Ted. It's a great question. By the way, we're now doing Q&A. I hope everybody knows what we do here. We're an hour and 22 minutes into the show. Q&A. It's wide open. It's world famous. Everybody comes here to watch us for our Q&A. The rules are, go ahead and leave a comment. They're all free. It doesn't matter. I'll try to get to them. Member comments are purely defined. Member comments normally get precedent if all things are equal. And then super stickers and super chats are appreciated. Anybody wants to donate, that's the way to do. Hit that dollar bill and give a donation to help us keep the lights on. I would appreciate it. And then last but not least, hit the same dollar sign next to the comment section and consider becoming a member of the College Football Mafia Network. David doesn't want to get on the phone, but he did give us a long answer here. So let's go through this. I think we are talking about damages of at least $750 million and probably around $1 billion once everything's all settled. We are talking about a substantial amount of money. This is all feuding by cord cutting and then also what advertisers are willing to pay to get to the consumer. That, it seems, is your phone, direct to consumer, and some of your cable packages that look less like Soviet ballots. That's funny. You have to be kind of old to understand what the Soviet ballot system works. I get the reference, though. Yeah, 750. Can any school outside of Notre Dame afford that? Ohio State, maybe? If that's what it ends up being, who knows? You know, Florida State and Clemson, I don't know what they're going to do, to be honest. I don't know. I personally, I disagree with David here. I think they do win in court, but I'm not a lawyer, so whatever. I'm a armchair quarterback at this point. Jan Hulk, all the way from Slovenia. Yes, we are a international show. We reach all around Europe, Asia, and then back to the United States. So Jan's in Slovenia. Hope you're feeling well there, Jan. I think FSU and Clemson leave the ACC only if ESPN can convince the SEC to take them. That is a wrinkle. There is some, obviously, inbreeding between those ESPN, ACC, and SEC. There is such a thing as, what is that rule? We haven't talked about it for a long time. You can't negotiate. Oh, David, what am I thinking of? You can't negotiate. They can't just swap from the ACC to the SEC. It's not, they can't just do a straight trade. There's like an interstate commerce rule, and I'm spacing it for some reason. I feel so stupid. Anyway, there's a rule why you can't just do that straight across. That doesn't mean, though, they can't negotiate other things. Everything has a price. David Frame says Shedeur Sanders $4.7 million. Olivia Dunn is second with $3.9 million. That is crazy. What are people worth? Is it crazy? I don't know that it is crazy. I'm a meritocracy guy. If you can go out and mow lawns and make $1 billion and I didn't do it and I'm not making the money, I don't care. I have no jealousy with any of that. Am I envious of some of the freedoms that might provide? Yes, I am. But the stuff none of that matters to me. So if Shedeur can get it, good for him. I'm telling you right now, his mind is in 300 different places, and whoever drafts him, and it better not be Seattle, it's gonna be Ryan Leaf level, because his head is not in the game. Now he could change his focus. That is possible, but that's not what I'm seeing up to now. David's still there. On what ground can they win? Sure, I get the market conditions have changed, but that's not a defense to a contract. And problem is for both Clemson and FSU is that there are equitable defenses that arise when you have taken the benefits of a contract but failed to contest it. That is fatal to FSU and Clemson. And just to clarify what he's saying there, they've obviously taken since 2013 when the original contract started, right? 2011, 12, 13 anyway, and then reaffirmed in 2016. FSU and Clemson and all the schools have been getting money. They've all been getting money paid to them. So what gives them the right to be able to leave without some sort of a settlement? And one more. Dave McKenzie says, please don't forget the SOL. These contracts are interpreted under North Carolina law. The SOL is 3 years. So please, I'll give you Florida too, but the SOL is 5 years there as well. I can't recall what SOL is. Is that the term? How many years you can go before you can sue? I don't know. The SOL I'm thinking about is not something I would normally say on my show. So, David, just in the comments, just tell me what SOL is, just so I can clarify that. Statute of limitations. That's what I thought you were saying. I just couldn't recall it. Statute of limitations, 3 years in North Carolina, 5 years in Florida. And the only reason I think Florida State had the sovereign immunity thing, I know it goes back to England, but I do think there's some stuff in there that the ACC did. I don't think they dealt, from what I've seen, the stuff that's leaked, I don't think the ACC has dealt straight up with Florida State. I don't know about Clemson, but it doesn't feel like they have for a while. So we'll find out, though. Time will tell. 2024 is what he's saying. Okay. So we'll keep going. Let's get some. I love what we're doing now. Keep those comments going. Super chats are awesome. Super stickers are great. Memberships are really good. Okay. Steve Ohio, Florida says Bomber market allocation, and that's not immune to lawsuits. So the market allocation, ACC and ESPN, that's the numbers. That's the viewership dollars. How many households ESPN2 or the ACC network is? They get paid. Whatever those numbers are, they're paid to the conference, and then the conference doles out the money at the end of the year. That's why they brought in SMU. That's why they brought in San Francisco market. It's very straightforward. And I was right. 2013 to 2016. Yeah, I had that right. Thank you, David, for clearing that up. I appreciate that. Let's see. So I'm going to scroll up here and get some of these others. I already did that. Sky's doing good. That's fantastic. Illini Ted, I don't think it should. Yeah, I don't think it should, but isn't the American way. You just keep going to a higher court. I already did that one. Sorry, I apologize, guys. I'm the only one running mission control here. I'm behind on my comments. I apologize. Stormy Cyclone, another member. Thank you, Stormy. Great to see you. Some things you will never forget. That's one of them, 9/11. Definitely. We got a bunch of people watching us live. If you're on Twitter, please leave your comment. Twitter's working. I'm talking with David McKenzie, and he's on Twitter, and that's fantastic. In the past, we've had trouble with Twitter for some reason. And then I just posted the link if you want to join the show. Stormy, if you have a second, you can join the show. Just click the link, and we can talk about whatever you want to talk about. But yeah, 9/11 is a big deal. Amelia gives us a heart for 9/11. I appreciate that. Lee says, I appreciate you doing that moment of silence, Bomber. Thank you, Lee. Yeah, it's not a joke to me. So anyway, I won't get personal, but this stuff really matters to me a lot for personal reasons. Illini Ted, I was in New York City in the summer of 2000. I have pictures of the Twin Towers. Hard to keep it together when I see those pop up. It's okay. It's okay. Let it out. It's therapy for all the adults that remember what it was like to go to work that day. Nitwit says never will forget. Thank you. Penn State, keep winning. Let's go, Nitwit. I'd love Penn State to be a dark horse. Thanks, Mom. You're very welcome. David Frame says LSU gymnast Olivia Dunn, we just mentioned, NIL deal $3.9 million. And that it's not a question mark. That's a statement. Does she get to keep all that money? Does any male athlete make more money than her? And we answered that question to her. Shador is $4.7 million. This is one of the arguments in the House settlement. This is one of the arguments that the NCAA is trying to get through, trying to sneak it in, that the money would go through the school and then the school gives it to the player, which I wholeheartedly disagree with on a very basic level. If a kid's good mowing your lawn, you don't give the money to his mom. Give it to the kid mowing the lawn, right? Michael Smith, good to see you, Michael. Fun fact, Stanford versus Washington, older rival than the Cougs, 1893 versus 1900. I did not know that. I grew up in the Pacific Northwest. I did not know that fact. That's pretty cool. If you have a chance this weekend, definitely watch both the Civil War for Oregon. Bit my tongue. I apologize. Civil War for Oregon and Washington State. Sorry, in the Apple Cup. Hang on one second. Uh-oh. One of the last stitches came out. Anyway. Let's see here. Larry, the GM earlier. If I were an athlete when I I empower these stakeholders the right to negotiate my financial future for me. I wouldn't. Nowadays, I wouldn't. 10 years ago, I wouldn't have known any different. So everybody knows now, right? So in my opinion, they shouldn't. They should all get, if you're good enough, you're in the top 200 players in the United States, you should have an agent. Probably top 1,000, you should have an agent. I believe this would be the amount that will be paying players. NIL should be free market. Okay. So we talked about that a little bit. Steve High Florida earlier says, no, the Pac-12 commissioner was inept. Wasn't so much the Pac presidents. They were all inept. All of them. And they all have egos, and they let pride. What's it say? Pride goeth before the fall. That's what happened to the Pac-12. I'm thinking, David Frame, I'm thinking NIL and Title IX would have nothing to do with each other. Oh, again, I've done this. Stormy Cyclone players, whether like it or not, are going to become employees. I don't know. The NCAA kicked the can down the road for years. Now it's payday. Not feeling sorry for NCAA in any way. I am not in the employees boat. Moen may be. I'm not sure about Ute and the rest of them, the rest of the team. I am not sure, but I don't think they should be employees. In my opinion, they should be contractors that represent themselves on a 1099, and then all the players should be able to get together and have a collective bargaining union, or maybe 100 of them. But there should be bigger entities representing more than one player at a school, so they can collectively bargain and do the best they can for themselves. That's just me. Illini Ted, by companies, I guess I really mean schools. Oh, that was earlier. This is what happens when you read backwards. You jump in the middle of conversations. I apologize about that. You're not going to milk NIL settlement money out of state-funded schools. All right, well, that's a bridge to my next comment. Let me just I've got move those never forgets because I do not ever want to forget. Let me make sure I'm remembering the right one. State-funded schools. So University of Washington, oh, that's one of the ones I closed. All right, I'll just tell you what the news was. University of Washington 2 days ago formed an NIL collective, but it's like a fund, like a super fund Their football coach put $1 million in it. They're trying to raise $60 million, $300 million over 6 years, 5 years. So trying to raise $300 million over 5 years to show their commitment to facilities, to the school, to recruiting, and then to paying players. Getting the best players you can, putting your best NFL team together to go play in Husky Stadium. That's what we're talking about. Should money from anything from state funds go to paying players? It's an open question. Should it? Should a state write a check to a player to go play football at your local school? Or should that come from advertisers? Or maybe an athletic fund that only does paying players? There's other ways to do it. But if you go to Congress and you beg forgiveness for screwing up your finances like Arizona and Arizona State, hundreds of millions of dollars upside down, University of Washington State, mostly Pac-12 schools, all upside down in their finances. They go to the state to be bailed out. And then you have this commingling of funds. Where is the money coming from? The legislature? Is it, is this like Watergate? That money is going to end up in the hands of the burglars. That money's going to end up in the hands of the star quarterback. There's no regulation. There's absolutely no regulation. In the state of Utah today, I better not have closed this. This is one I wanted to get to. I am so mad I closed it. The state of Utah today, if you follow Mitt Winter, he put it out, Winter Online. State of Utah today just enabled NIL dollars to go straight to school kids in high school. They're following what we heard is happening on the East Coast and at USC. So now high schoolers are going to be getting NIL money or cars or jets, whatever it is. So the whole system's breaking down, everybody. I know it's uncomfortable. I grew up in a time, I think the heyday of college football growth. I can claim that as my generation. Generation X really made that blow up. It blew up all the sports, frankly. NBA was almost bankrupt, and that generation brought everything up. So I understand where all that comes from. But, man, I don't know. I just – who's doing the accounting? That's the question I would have is who wants the job of doling out money but not – and keeping it separate from school funds. That sounds frightening to me. So they're going to pay players in high school. The money's going to come to the schools either through funds, booster clubs, NIL direct payments, or the $22 million that they've been told the NCAA has said you guys can use that as a sort of it's a cap. It's like a salary cap. But it's not going to function like a salary cap because $22 million is going to be the baseline. Here's a question. I'm at the bottom of my comments. I'll try to get to these others. You guys are amazing. Amazing. Right now, if you had a choice, where would you like to see the NIL money going? Directly to the players or going to the school to administer? Flash poll. Comments right now. Tell me. I can't throw up a flash poll because I don't know how to do that. Just leave a comment and let me know what you think about that. Because that's really the question we're dealing with. If the NIL is managed by the school, who knows how that accounting is going to work. If it's managed with the player, now you're looking at bagmen, maybe some indecent proposals for money to go transfer to a different high school. I mean, it is going to get crazy, people. All right, I'm going to work backwards here. Got some great comments. Illini Ted says 2 kids, schools will screw it up. I tend to agree with you, Illini Ted. David McKenzie, probably the smartest guy in the room right now. NIL for high schoolers is scary. I agree. A minor can't even sign a contract. That's the thing that changed in Utah. They can in Utah. Mitt Winter put that out. I don't know why I closed it, but I'll see if I can find it and repost it. But Utah said they can sign contracts. If I read it right. If you're going to restrict NIL for high schoolers, you have to restrict the parents. Oh boy, now you're talking parents. As for House versus the NCAA, I've always seen the settlement as aspirational, the goal. But is it reality? I find it hard to believe. I think the NCAA is like the ACC. I don't think they have any choice. I think they have to play it out to the end. That's just me. I'm a dummy. Line I said again, NIL from public entities or just allow private entities to give NIL to high school kids. That's the open question. Each state now is coming up with their own rules. Michael Smith says, or ? Honeys. That's out of context, I imagine. That's what happens when you read backwards. I apologize. Michael, if you can explain that later, I'll try to get to it. Almighty Finn says, hey, Bomber, what if ESPN doesn't opt in? ACC Royal Flush goes out the window. So, David, if you're still watching, this is the thing that I always come back to. I don't really care even about the lawsuit ACC and Florida State. To me, everything hinges on the ACC contract. And do you think that's a royal flush? That's a great question, Almighty Finn. Is it? Florida State fan? I'm a fan of Florida State. I admit it. I don't think they can win that. I could be wrong. But in my opinion, ESPN's no dummy, and they're going to renegotiate the deal. They're not going to sign it as is. And it might be for a big number, but there's going to be a caveat in the contract that says if Louisville, if Florida State, if Miami, if leave the conference, each school is going to be given a dollar amount. Florida State, $200 million. Clemson, $150 million. If those things happen, that's how much money is going to come off the ACC contract. Now, somebody imagine for me, in a world that's pink with rainbows and flying pigs, a world where the ACC is paid the exact same money that they're making right now without Miami, without Louisville, without Florida State and Clemson. You guys are the smartest commenters on all of social media, on YouTube shows, everything else. You're here, you're on Greg Flugar's show, Peek Around the Corner. You're the smartest people in the world when it comes to this stuff. You've seen what we've talked about for 2 years. Does anybody here feel like they can go on Twitter and justify that dollar amount? Because what's happening right now in the ACC, that's exactly what's happening. The ACC is talking themselves into a bunch of knots. I'm going to check here to see if David made a comment. Here we go. David follows up on this. Thank you so much, David, for all your interaction. I think ESPN would be categorically stupid to not exercise the option. Why wouldn't it? It's a lot of content to spread across its entertainment ecosystem, and it is getting it at a bargain. Everything David just said is true. Where we differ is that I don't think they're going to bid against themselves. ESPN's the only bidder. They own their own network, and they own the ACC. David, explain that to me. Why would ESPN bid against itself? It sees this distressed property, a house that has fallen down and needs a lot of TLC to come back. How does the ACC keep its value, which is the argument, and sign that deal as is? The only way I see it, and I just explained it, the only way I see that happening is each school is assigned a dollar amount. If those schools leave the conference eventually, that dollar amount is delimited from the contract, and now the ACC is making $18 million a year. We're big on stats around here. Everybody knows our shows. Wild Ute, in my opinion, one of the smartest stats guys in all of college football analytics research. And he says if Clemson and Florida State leave, your 35 to 40% of all your value leaves out the door. Now you've got a distressed property. ACC lost their two biggest brands, and just from a number standpoint, they took, we'll be kind and say 35% of their business with them. Why would they keep paying the same amount? They're not going to bid against themselves. They have an opportunity now to not take the agreement and say, no, we're not going to just keep it going. This is not a handshake deal. To do this, we're going to have to do this other. So like I said, tomorrow they could make an announcement. ACC settles, right? ESPN, ACC, That gets settled. But probably in stuff that will be blacked out. If anybody does a Freedom of Information Act, it'll be blacked out. And in that blackout, it'll say if these schools leave, each one of them is worth a dollar amount. That amount or a percentage of that comes off the contract. And now, yes, you'll still have an ACC contract with ESPN, but the value will be 80%, 70% of whatever it was. So I just don't see ESPN bidding against itself. Let's see here. David's still here. I love David. It's not bidding against itself. It has the option, has the content, it has all the cards. So how is that bidding against itself? I understand the delay is more prosaic than anything else. Well, Dave, I just disagree. I see the same stuff you do. You're smarter than me. I just disagree with the analysis. You follow up and say, and the idea of an option is to have an option. You can exercise it up to the deadline in the option, of course. And they may do that. I just said they could announce that tomorrow, but it's not going to be clean. In my opinion, it'll have these poison pills in it. And now when Syracuse or Boston College, they say, we're in the ACC, we're ACC strong, you lose whatever brands. Now you're down your biggest brands. What is your value of your football games now? And I just can't see ESPN saying, we'll pay you the same amount. That's it. That's where we defer. It's not, we don't have to dwell on it. But David, we're going to have to get you on the show with you. Boy, the guys want to talk to you. I know you've considered coming on before. I would love to have you on and go through these things because most of the other people arguing for the ACC side are lunatics. I got to tell you. They don't deal in analytics. They don't look at the data. They rely on a couple of yokels who made stuff up during the Pac-12 stuff. And they steer their arguments. Anyways, I'm not even going to go into that. Everybody knows where I'm at with that. Anyway, so we'll have to get you on the show because I would love to go through this stuff with you. And your answers are spot on, by the way. Thank you for making them clear. Illini Ted says ESPN can re-up for the contract knowing that if Clemson and FSU leave the ACC, will probably implode anyway. Yeah, I mean, that's one way to put it. Okay, guys, we have 10 minutes left. 10 minutes. So this is your last chance to become a member. Join the club, and then you can watch all our member videos. Members have benefits here. Keep leaving your comments if you want to leave a tip or do a super chat. We always read those, and then there's super stickers you pay, and that money just goes in so we can keep the lights on. I just want to give a warning. We're about 10-minute warning right now. Let's see. Kalani says ACC is underpaid. Everyone admits this. Part of FSU's lawsuit states that the conference didn't do its job in getting what it's worth. There's that, and then you add on the stuff with what is it? Raytheon? Not Raytheon. What's that other TV company that they subbed? Starts with an R. Anyway, and then that whole contract negotiation and who's getting what. Yeah, so it's obvious that the original contract, which has been re-upped now twice, had different expectations than what is now. Big 12's underpaid too by about 40 or 50%. So, but you know what? It's a buyer's market, everybody. If you're Fox, why pay? This is the bid against yourself stuff. Why would ESPN want to pay more money? Just to keep the schools happy? Schools don't have a lot of power. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe they do that. That is possible. Keep good relationships. I know Brett Yormark has talked about, possibly adjusting the numbers, especially with additions. So I don't know. That's one I can't answer. It's sort of a gray area for me. Michael Smith says girlfriends. Oh, that's the earlier one. Think the 80s flick Risky Business. Loved it. Was just too young to watch it in the theater, but I watched it anyway. So, stacking high schoolers with paper. Yeah, that's funny. Thank you for that, Michael. I appreciate it. Antoine Codes again, another member. Loyalty matters. ASU didn't get to the state to get bailed out. Didn't go to the state to get bailed out. Well, I thought one of them did. Didn't Arizona or Arizona State? I thought one of them. Didn't Crow say we're 250 million under and we're going to need some support from the legislature? I thought that's what they said. So correct me, Antoine. Obviously, I've got that wrong. Tell me actually what that messaging was from Crow, because I was pretty sure they were basically saying we don't have this money. we're a state, entity, you're not going to go bankrupt, sort of a thing. But I could be wrong. Absolutely could be wrong. All right, I went to the bottom. I've gone to the top. See here, Stormy Cyclone. A 12-year ACC contract is a real gamble for ESPN, knowing that you have some of the best teams wanting out. And that's my point exactly. That's where the distressed property comes out of my mouth. Is why would ESPN, one, bet against itself that they have the option to possibly pull out or at least renegotiate, and then this, right? It's a distressed property. If you're a private equity company, which are you going to invest in? A Big 12 that's aggressive, that loves what you're doing and really wants to work with you, or an ACC that would be doing it just to try to survive, knowing that the best brands more than likely at some point are going to be out? I mean, this stuff to me is pretty simple. Obviously, I'm not communicating it right, but that's the gist of what my argument is. David, why would you pay more money when the terms of contract doesn't require that? Exactly. That's my point exactly. Unfortunately, David, on Twitter, ACC people, I'll tell you the schools, Pitt, some NC State, certainly Wake Forest and Boston College have been very active on Twitter saying that they're going to actually get more money on this opt-in in February. They think not only are they going to keep the contract and lock everybody in forever, but they actually think ESPN's going to throw more money at them. Now, I don't believe that, and it doesn't look like you believe it, but that's part of the messaging out there from some of these schools that are desperate for relevance. And football drives the bus, people. It's not basketball. Antoine Codes, that was not ASU. Crow basically said the university was going to eat athletic department debt, so no, ASU's department is debt-free. Great. So I had him wrong. It was Arizona we were talking about then. I want to correct the record. I was wrong. Antoine Code says ASU's finances are good. Thank you for that. Thanks for clearing that up for me. I appreciate it, Antoine. Line I Ted, here's the thing that could happen. If ESPN backs out of the ACC, could negotiate with all media companies and possibly make much more, appeasing Florida State and Clemson. Anything's possible. That could happen. Yep. I'm not going to say it wouldn't. That absolutely could. That absolutely could happen. Steve Ohio, Florida got me the R word. It was Raycom. Florida State especially was upset with the subletting of shows to Raycom, and then the way that negotiation worked, and then obviously the decrease in the value of the property as a whole. The ACC it just doesn't have a huge. All I can say is it shades of the Pac-12. That's all I can say. Let me get to more. You guys have been so good giving me all these comments. I cannot thank you guys enough. We got about 3.5 minutes. If you want to do a super chat, I can get to that. I was trying to get to as many of these as I could, but I mean, we're talking almost 1,000 comments tonight, and I'm here by myself. Nitwit says state lawmakers will be getting involved soon. TikTok. 90% of these state-funded schools that are nonprofits. That's another thing I need to add to my list, the nonprofit thing. The NCAA wants to keep its tax exemption as well. I need to write that down because I forgot to add it to my list. Tax-free. Right now, the NCAA is tax-free. And they want to keep that exemption along with being protected from lawsuits. So, yeah, that's pretty crazy. You're exactly right, Nitwit. Kalani earlier, conference networks just print money, little overhead since schools make and produce a lot of the content. I've heard rumors the Big 12 has talked possibly about a network. Would it be cool? Yeah. Would it cost hundreds of millions of dollars to get going? Yes. Lucky BYU's already built their network, so there are some cheats they can use. All the Pac-12 schools built network facilities to support the Pac-12 network. So not every school would have to start from scratch, but it costs a lot of money to get a thing going. So I would love for the conference to have it. I'm not going to be stupid. I would love for the Big 12 to have a conference channel. I just don't want it to be on ESPN. I'll be very frank. Amazon is great. Apple TV, Fox would be fantastic. I'm afraid ESPN is going to be the only bidder if they want to do that. Larry, the GM, that is the financial reality. These are educational institutions, not athletic factories. Keeping it real. Illini Ted, Olympic sports aren't major moneymakers for the Big Ten, but they do fill up a lot of the Big Ten network content. Live sports are always a better draw than reruns. If you're going to have a conference network, you have to do reruns. Fill the air with lacrosse or gymnastics. Yeah, that's exactly right. This will be our last one, I think, tonight. No way the conference networks will allow members to go regional in non-revenue sports that they can get advertising buys on. Yeah, that is messy, Steve. Yeah, that's the tier 3 rights. One of the things that stopped BYU or hurt BYU joining the Big 12 in 2016 was they wanted to keep their own TV network. They wanted to keep their content in-house. There were a lot of reasons, but that was one of them. In my opinion, it was the worst decision ever made at BYU. 2016 should have been the time, but whatever. Turner Sports is looking for content, True TV, TNT, etc. Yeah, that's Warner Brothers. So you're talking Max, you're talking Discovery Channel, all that stuff. Larry, the GM, the composition clause kicks in if 2 teams leave. So now these are all difficulties to all the stuff we talk about. If the conference loses 2 schools, now the composition clause says that you have to meet a minimum number of schools and they have to meet these criteria. You're exactly right, Larry. You just didn't have time to dive into that tonight. To Town Hawk can probably get the Pac-12 equipment on cheap. I agree with that. Might come. Maybe Washington State and Oregon State come to the Big 12 if they go to 24. If they go to 24, they're both in the Big 12 in my conference. I don't think 24 is going to be the next jump, though. I'm afraid it's going to be 20. I really believe that. Pac-12 Network had a decent broadcast. You just couldn't see it anywhere but gas stations. That's the joke. People were watching it while they were pumping their gas. All right, one more. Let's see here. Almighty Finn. Everyone mad at FSU for wanting out of the ACC when we all know Swofford didn't try and get the ACC the best deal they could. Anyways, that's where the bitterness comes out. You guys are awesome. I thank you so much for helping me out. I hope this was fun. Illini Ted, Bomber, much love and prayers for a quick recovery when your surgery comes. You will all be like the 8th people to find out. I'll put it on Twitter, but I'll definitely come on the show and we can talk about it. I'll answer questions. A lot of people are concerned. All I can tell you is that it humbles me. Sorry, I needed to get my breath there. I'm humbled by the love and support I've received. You guys are awesome, and this is the best club I could have ever imagined being in my entire life. Yeah, there's so much more stuff we could talk about, guys. But 2 hours my limit tonight. I'm getting tired. So I appreciate everybody being here. Love and appreciation goes out to all of you. Please stay safe. Let me know if there's anything I can ever do for you. I'm here for it. Send me a DM. I'll give you my cell phone number. You can call me and we can talk. But I'm here for you guys, and I hope you know you're here for me. Everybody have a great night, and we will see you on Friday. Big Freaking Friday show on the College Football Mafia Network. Peace out.